Is your dog just way too smart for an invisible dog fence? Let's find out. Hey folks, it's Adam with Outdoor Pet Solutions. On this channel, I help educate DIYers on how to properly install electronic dog fencing just like a professional, as well as help them get through the training process that follows after the installation. In the OPS 1000 dog fencing system that I offer, my complete installation and training guide is included. In this video, I wanted to help address a potential issue where your dog is appearing to be just too smart for the invisible dog fence system. The scenario is typically this. You think you've trained the dog on leash and they're respecting the flag line, so they fully understand they're not allowed to go past, but as soon as I take the leash off, they run through. This scenario is typically a result of a few mistakes that were made in the first two steps of training that are resulting in your dog appearing to be outsmarting the fence system. So I'd like to give you some tips and tricks to help you get through those first two steps to help prevent those issues from happening. So let's head outside right now. Okay, so today I'll be working with my dog Savannah, showing you how to get through the first step in the training program, and that's where kind of the mistakes are made in the beginning. For folks that don't do this on a regular basis, I totally understand that this won't come to you as second nature. So some things to consider so that you don't cause confusion down the road for your dog and it appears they're outsmarting you, so to speak. During lesson one, you're teaching your dog to retreat from the flags. The idea is for them to hear the audible tone, which is delivered just beyond the flag line, and for them to understand when they hear it, they are to retreat back into the yard. In order to teach them this, you have to allow them to hear the tone and then retreat them back and reward them for doing so. And you repeat that as you make your way around the yard. And by doing so, after a couple of days, they should start to grasp the idea of when they hear the tone, they are to retreat back to you. Where the challenge arises is you're walking with your dog with a relatively short leash, and as you approach the line, you stop. Well, the dog doesn't go any further. The dog's not going near the flags, and it's giving you the impression that, oh, the dog doesn't want to go near the flags. Well, they're not going to advance through the flags because you're not going through the flags. So the first tip I'm going to give you is you need to walk through the flags with momentum, and that way your dog continues through, giving you the opportunity for them to hear the tone, and then you retreat them back. So you want to start back and keep a distance about 10 feet off the flags. And then as you approach the line, do not stop, but instead continue through. As soon as your dog is through, you coach them back to you. And then at that point, that's when you reward your dog. Again, as you make your way around the flag line, if you walk up and you stop and wait for something to happen, your dog is just going to hang out with you. And you're like, oh, good, they understand. That's not the case, because as soon as I step forward, now the dog's coming through and I need to coach them back out, just like so. So that's tip number one, is that do not hang back and stand here waiting for your dog to do something at the flag line. My advice is for you to use a much longer leash. As you noticed, I'm using a retractable leash. This will give your dog the sense of more freedom and be able to walk further distance away from you, allowing them the opportunity to interact with the flag line well away from you, and then you can coach them back. It will make your life a lot easier if you use a retractable leash. When you work through lesson one, you're trying to reach the point in which your dog does not follow you through anymore and leaves you behind. Now your dog is really showing you that they understand that beyond the flag line is where they're not allowed to go. You want to be able to walk past the flag line and allow your dog the opportunity to decide not to follow you through. Notice I'm keeping the leash very loose. This is important. You must keep the leash loose at all times unless you're correcting a behavior. So as you walk through the flag line, you should never be dragging your dog through, keeping tension on the leash. Because if you do, that's just directing them to come through. Remember, the tugging of the leash and your connection with your dog through the leash is your communicator. This is what's going to be guiding your dog through the process, so it's important to control the leash. Keep it nice and loose and allow the dog to make a decision not to come through. When they stop and do not follow you through, give that just a moment and then simply come right back into the flag line and reward them. Say good girl or good boy. You can also use a treat as well that shows them that what they're doing is what we want. So the first two tips are you are to continue to walk through, don't stop prematurely and wait for your dog to do something out in front. And two, make sure the leash is loose at all times unless you're correcting their behavior. Now the third tip I'm going to give you is how to get through lesson 2. So lesson 1 is so effective that people will contact me saying, hey, look, I can't get my dog to go anywhere near the flags during the distraction training. That probably stems from them not walking through themselves and hanging back and assuming that the dog gets it. And what happens is they'll take the dog off leash a little prematurely, and then guess what? They run right through the flags. So to prevent all that, you need to get through lesson 2, and that's where you're amplifying the collar and taking advantage of distractions outside the yard. Distraction training can be challenging if you live in an area that doesn't have very many distractions outside the boundary line. Distractions such as maybe wildlife, squirrels, turkeys, deer walking through, joggers running up and down the street, or other dogs being walked by. All kinds of different distractions that you may or may not have. But of the ones that you do know of, you need to take advantage of those during the distraction training. Because your dog, although during lesson 1 has now understood they can't go past the flag line when they're on leash, you need an enticing enough distraction so that they push the envelope so that they can start getting the correction of the collar, and it will snap their brain off of that distraction and they will be retreating back in the yard. That's what you're trying to do during lesson 2. So the tip I'm going to give you for distraction training that you can create on your own is called the walkthrough exercise. Now this is where you and a partner come together and work with the dog. You will maintain control of the leash, or your partner will maintain control of the leash, and then the other person will simply walk through the flags. Now you'll do this as a group. So you, your dog, and your partner will approach the line together, and everyone will attempt to walk through the flags. You will then get the opportunity to correct your dog's behavior, because more than likely they're going to want to follow that person through. And when they do, you coach them back and reward them. This should get you through the distraction training. Now there's other forms of distractions that you can create as well, outside of the normal distractions that happen in your neighborhood. But it's very important to understand what you should do and what you shouldn't do. You should never go outside the flag line, and this pertains to your partner as well who's helping you, and call the dog by name. Never go outside the flag line and call the dog to see if they get it. That's a big no-no. That is misleading, and it's counterintuitive to what we're trying to teach the dog. The dog's looking to you for direction, and if you call them through and they get corrected for it, that's a confusing approach for them. So instead, whoever's outside the flag line must remain silent, not acknowledge the dog in any way, and once that person steps back through the flag line, then you can acknowledge the dog and greet them. This will give that obvious transition in and out of the flag line so the dog really starts to understand they're not allowed to be beyond that point. The other thing you never want to do is take a ball or a treat or anything and hurl it out of the yard to see if they go for it. While they're in this training process, they will go for it. They're going to, especially the working dogs, they're going to watch to see where that ball had landed or stick, and they're going to bolt for it. That's not the way to test them. You can simply bounce a ball just beyond the flag line, just outside of it, so that the dog can make a decision to follow through and get the ball, or stop and wait for you to retrieve it for them. That's a great way to test them throughout the distraction training as well. So remember, keep a loose leash at all times unless you're correcting their behavior. Remember to continue to walk all the way through the flag line yourself and allow the dog the opportunity to hear the tone and coach them back in, rather than stopping short and waiting for them to do something. And third, wear out the walkthrough exercise during the distraction training. Following the step-by-step guide in the OPS 1000 training manual and utilizing these tips and tricks will ensure that you will graduate to lesson 3, which is off leash under supervision, and your dog will be respecting the flag line. Removing the leash in step 3 is a vital step in the process so that the dog fully understands the leash had nothing to do with this restriction. That's where the problem usually arises. Folks make those mistakes in the first 2 steps, and it leads to the dog running through the flag line when the leash comes off, because the dog has been taught that, hey, when you're on leash, you can't go past this point, but when you're off leash, fair game. So to avoid all that, follow these tips and you'll be in good shape. I hope this video was helpful in providing you some tips and tricks to get you through the training process so you can achieve successful containment. If you're in the market for an electronic dog fence and you're looking for the absolute best, be sure to check out the OPS 1000. It comes complete with my installation and training guide showing you how a professional installs the system and then works with the dogs to learn their new boundaries. Plus, you get unlimited over-the-phone support direct from me. I'm readily available to help you get through the installation and training processes. Be sure to click the link down in the description to order yours today, and that price does include ground shipping via UPS direct to you. And as always, thanks for watching. Goodbye.